Welcome everyone. You are once again looking at the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel as it explores yet another new machine, a machine I've never had come across my workbench. It is not the first Husqvarna that I've had. In fact, on my channel, I believe I've shown, I'm trying to remember, it's been quite a long time since I had a Husqvarna machine. I think I have. I'll have to go back and look, honestly, because I have overhauled Husqvarnas before, but one of them may have come before I even had a channel. And the only Husqvarna machines I've ever come across are the Model 21E and I think 21C, if I have that right. But they were both free arm machines, and one of them came with a lovely table for the free arm machine. It was very mid-century, Scandinavian, modern. It was just incredible. And but I don't come across them often. And some of the later Husqvarnas have they can have some issues. When I say later, I'm talking about when we get into the hybrid, in the 70s and the 80s, they begin to be more difficult from my perspective. However, the machines I have restored made by Husqvarna before, they were all green, which is, I think, even to this day, the brand still uses green as its, quote, signature color, unquote. Now, there is one key difference that I will remind all of you guys to think about. Now, I should mention to you, this is Model 51, and I've never had a Model 51. Again, this is a flatbed Husqvarna machine, but there is something different. Or should I say, I don't know if I should say something is missing, but something is clearly different when it comes to this machine versus the other Husqvarnas that I've restored. And yes, they're both green, and this is a flatbed. The others were free arms, but that's not the thing I'm referring to. Notice what it's called. It says, you see the Swedish crown, and it has just really cool styling. Styling is subjective. I never tell my viewers what looks cool to them, because you may disagree. I've always enjoyed the industrial design of the Husqvarnas of this era. But look closely. It says Husqvarna, as did my past machines, and I can't remember if they said automatic. They may have. However, there's a difference. What is that difference? Well, it said Viking Husqvarna, but this one says Nordic Husqvarna. What's the difference? Well, this machine was made around the same time as my Viking Husqvarnas that were all free arms. But the reason you see a different name is not, the model number is different, obviously, but it's not because one is a flatbed. It's because of where it was sold. So a lot of sewing machines cross the border. They go back and forth between Canada and the U.S. over time. People move, and they take machines with them back and forth, which is not a big deal because both countries have the same electrical standards for operating electrical devices in the home. But this machine has a different name. The question is why? Well, when Husqvarna came to North America, they came to the United States and Canada, and when they did that, they called their machines Viking Husqvarnas in the United States. Now you might think, well, okay, why not call them Viking Husqvarnas here in Canada? And the reason is quite connected, I should say, to one of Canada's legendary department store chains, which is now, like most department store chains, gone, sadly. But it was the Eaton's department store chain. I believe it was Eaton, the letter T, and then the capital EATON. And Eaton's had, like many department stores, they had their own house brands. That's not unusual. Well, someone at Eaton's managed to get a copyright on the name Viking, and the name Viking was used by Eaton's along with, they had other house brands. A lot of these department stores had, they have multiple house brands depending on the category and the department of the department store. And One of the Eaton house brands was Viking, and they had the rights to it, and they used it on all sorts of things. They used it on refrigerators and freezers, and they used it on stereos. All the things that department stores used to have. In addition to uh, big brands, they also had their own brand. And well, the name Viking was also used on sewing machines. And I'm trying to remember, I think I have shown a Viking sewing machine that was made in Japan. And the reason it was made in Japan is because it was never a Husqvarna. It was a Viking branded machine for the Eaton's company that had nothing to do with Husqvarna. So if you see a Husqvarna that says Viking, its chances are it was originally sold in the United States. And, someone may have brought one to Canada, but they weren't sold in Canada with that name because the Eaton company said, no, 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 we have that name. So the name Nordic, right? So, they found something else to reference. Husqvarna is an actual city or town in Sweden, but it's part of Scandinavia, right? So people in North America associate the Vikings with Scandinavia, with Sweden and Norway, and then the name Nordic. So they just said, well, we'll use Nordic instead. So anyway, if that was of any confusion to you, or maybe you are confused now that I tried to ramble on and explain it for 10 minutes, that is the reason for the difference. Now, back to the machine. So I saw this machine listed. This is the machine that was in the table that somehow managed to be, I don't know if it was dropped, fell down the flight of stairs. It was severely damaged. But I have recovered the machine and the things that came with it. So let's take a look. And I often show the machine and then the accessories. I'm going to do this in the opposite way. I'm going to show you what I was given with the machine. The first thing is, let's talk about the foot pedal, because those of you who know vintage Viking machines will know that the good folks in Sweden, they didn't mess around. When they had a foot pedal, they had a foot pedal. In fact, it's so large, and it's actually sort of shaped more like a foot, a human foot. And of course, if you've ever been to a shoe store, do those still exist? You may recognize, they sometimes have these forms you're supposed to sit and have your feet measured. Maybe they measure them with lasers now, I don't know. But anyway, this is a very classic Husqvarna style foot pedal. When I squeeze on it, I don't hear or I don't feel any scraping. I have a hunch that this foot pedal is very likely a carbon pile design. Not 100% sure, I could be wrong, but I've come across enough foot pedals in my day to kind of have a good guess anyway. We'll just say that. Now, this one is wired. I have inspected the wire. The wire looks great. It is smooth. It is still soft. It's not a spring chicken, but it seems I don't see anything that is amiss with it, and that's great because the Husqvarna company did something interesting in that it kind of reminds me of the Singer company. And I say this because for the Singer 301, the Singer 400, and let's see. Yes, the Singer, I want to say, I'm trying to remember if they did this on the 400 series, but I know on the 301, you would have your power source plugged into the receptacle on the machine, and then you had a separate plug for the foot pedal. And then the wiring, the electricity that was fed to the machine would go to the foot pedal at its own connection for whatever reason. Well, that matters in this case because Husqvarna did the same thing. And if you look closely, this plug has a two-blade plug that are on a diagonal. And if you have one of these and it's in good shape, consider yourself fortunate because to get a replacement is not easy, right? Now, what am I noticing here? This is something, I told you I've been going through the cord and noticing it, but look at this. What do you think this is, everyone? This is not dry rot. This is not crumbling. In fact, it's still nice and soft. However, what do I see? I cannot see the actual wire, so they are still intact. I see what I think are bite marks. Someone had a pet that thought, oh, I'm going to chew on this. Well, thankfully, they didn't chew the whole thing off, and because the inner wires of the cord, there are two wires in this cord, they both have their insulation. That insulation has not been broken. Apparently, whatever chewed on this chewed on the outer green coating. That's the jacket for the two wires that form the cord. So I will be looking at repairing that. I have different ways of going about getting this repaired. So because the plug is fixed, I don't really want to dismember the plug. So there's a cord. There are different ways and products available to repair this cord. We'll talk about that in a different video. But the other thing to do, of course, is, and if this is you and you're in the same position, look at the foot pedal, right? Now when I just hold it in my hand and shake lightly, I don't hear anything. So I'm not hearing anything broken. That doesn't mean it's not damaged, but that's a hopeful sign. The other thing is to inspect and look for cracks. Now, as is true with the Singer button style pedals, this is thick plastic. It was definitely built for heavy duty use. It's not plastic as in some, crappy cheap thing that's going to break on you in a heartbeat. But it is still, this plastic is hard. It is brittle. It was brittle when it was new even. You don't want to drop it. You don't want to crack this, right? I had a client who had one. They had a Kenmore, and come to find out the foot pedal, someone had dropped it at some point. And even though the porcelain in it wasn't cracked, the plastic was, and we had to replace it. So anyway, the foot pedal's in good shape. Hooray. And because if you get one of these machines and it doesn't come with a foot pedal, well, you're going to have a bit of a hunt. And this is, again, there are many wonderful things about European vintage sewing machines, but one of the downsides is sometimes the search for parts, which can be more challenging than some other brands. Okay, I don't know why this was with this machine. This is a stretch belt. It is nowhere near long enough to fit this machine, and I think this is simply one of these situations where someone said, hey, where do you keep your sewing stuff? I found this belt. Okay, here, sure, thanks. And they just put it. This is a sewing belt, but it doesn't belong with this machine. But as many of you have seen in my videos, and I think you've probably had your own experience with this, the reality is when you go through things that come with a sewing machine, you have to study them to see, does this actually go with the machine, or is it just sewing stuff someone had? That's what this is. And I'm not a fan of stretch belts anyway. You all, those of you who know my channel and know my perspective is I don't like them because they sort of work, but they rob the machine of power, and the machines were not originally designed to work with them. Okay, so what am I going to do? The first thing I'm going to do is put this foot pedal in a nice safe place because I do not want it harmed or dropped or banged. All right, what else did I get? Well, I got a box. It is a plastic box. I'm going to change the angle here just a bit for you all, maybe give a little bit of a zoom. So we see, again, the crown and the royal crest of someone in Sweden, the king of Sweden, I don't know. What I notice is that this is a plastic box, and it, so far, since, 1960 or so, it has survived. It is not cracked or broken. How about that? That's nice. So I don't know where this box was, but if it was, I don't know. I mean, if that table were dropped and this was in it, I don't know how this would have survived. In any case, oh, how cool. Look at this, folks. The lid to this box is actually a separate box. Oh, how cool. So we have a lid. Let me pan back out just a moment. So we have a lid, we have a box, we have a lid to the box, and then we have a lid to the box. Not sure that made any sense whatsoever. And I'm pretty darn sure that this would be set up to hold bobbins. Someone had put a double needle here. Maybe this is also for needles, I don't know. But I know that this is too small for thread spools, and it's too shallow for thread. So I'm guessing it was made for bobbins. We'll talk more about the bobbins that this machine uses. It uses a specific bobbin style. I believe I have some in stock. And I think, don't quote me on guys, because I got to go back and check. I think it's a similar bobbin that many of the FOF machines used. Not the Class 15 FOFs, but some of the later FOFs would use those. Now, what are these? Cool looking little things. These are cams. And there's a way to change the cams, and it's the Swedish way. It's a very different way, but it's a cool system. I have, what do I have? Someone may ask. I have cam A. I have cam C and D. I don't have cam B. Maybe cam B is in the machine. And these cams, by the way, I believe, I'll have to double check. I don't know if one of them is required for zigzag, because you never know. Don't always assume that a zigzag machine will work without a cam. It depends on how fancy the machine was. However, most of these cams are set up for making decorative stitches. So we'll set those right there for a moment. And what do we have here? Oh my goodness, we have a free motion darning foot. By the way, in case you were wondering, these are, give a little zoom here. These are, maybe not so much zoom. These are low shank feet. And we have another foot. And I think, obviously this is for zigzag sewing. And this is, I believe this is for buttonholes, not buttons, but buttonholes. And you'll know how I know that in a moment, because I snuck a peek at the manual, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Many of my viewers are, many of you are great sewers, and you know more about your feet and attachments than I do. All right, a rolled hammer foot, pretty standard fare. I admire those of you who are able to use them. I think they're really cool. I think they work well, but for giant hands like mine, not so much. All right, here's another one, and it may look like the same size, but it's not. It actually is for a different sized rolled hem. I think a rolled hem on this one here on the left is a little thicker. And what do we have here? We have a foot with 3 grooves on the bottom. And I used to know the name of this for this foot, but I think Husqvarna called it something else. All right, we have, I think this is a cording foot, but I think even I think Husqvarna also calls this something else. But you know, now this, if you look at the rest of the feet, you'll know this is one. It will work on this machine because it's low shank, but it's not original. It says complete, and it's got some number. It says USA. I'm assuming it was made in USA. I don't know who made it. It doesn't say greased on it, but nonetheless, this is a zipper foot. Some people also call them dual cording foots. Not sure how easy it would be to cord on that. I have a small, and I think it's made of aluminum. It's very lightweight. A small thumb screw that goes to something. And I have this, which is fascinating. Is that a cording foot? Not sure. Let's see. Did I forget anything? Oh, here we go. There is and that is the actual button foot. You sometimes see these feet on Japanese machines, and sometimes they'll have a little rubber cover to protect them. But anyway, that's a button foot. And this is a piece. We're going to go to the manual to tell us what the heck that's for. But it's important, beautifully made. By the way, if you ever get anything with your machine, whether it goes with your machine or not, or let's say it does, but you're not sure what it does, hold on to it. It could be quite valuable, if not to you, to someone else. So never toss them out just because you don't know what they are. And this little piece here, very lightweight, delicate. This almost feels like it's made of aluminum, but maybe not. Maybe just thin steel, nickel-plated steel, maybe. And what is that? I'm not sure what that is, guys. I don't know. Oh man. Okay, maybe it goes to or is a part of one of these others. It's kind of a mystery sometimes. And then this, that looks like a Christmas tree ornament hook or something. Who knows why that's there? You get some weird things in there sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to put these back. And, oh wait, before I do that, let's go into our manual. I'm very lucky. Now, I had not looked to see if I could find the manual online because I got one. Now, I'm going to push the machine back just a bit, make a little bit of room here. And we will take a look at this manual. The manual comes with these two sort of heavy cardstock, almost like brochure flaps, if you will. And it's got, it's a diagram of the machine telling you what each part is, what they do, why they're there. And one thing I noticed, and I don't get to see very often, sometimes the old Singer manuals might have, or actually that's not true, Singer and other brands sometimes would have a page in the back of their manuals showing accessories, hoping that you might go back and buy them if you hadn't already when you bought the machine. But this one is wonderful because there is a list down here in green of every one of these pieces. So when I, remember I picked up one of these and I said, what do they call this? This is the one with the 3 grooves on the bottom. Well, they called it, let's see, they called this a bison, B-I-E-S-E-N, or bison. Bison, or I'm going to say bison, foot with 3 grooves. So you guys tell me if you got a different name for it. Because, okay, so we know that we got rolled hammer feet there, no big deal. Now this is interesting. This is a foot that is, it doesn't look like it, but it has a similar function that your decorative stitch foot on your Slant-O-Matic machines had. The 400 series and the 500 and so forth. And this one is called a pattern stitching presser foot. Now, I'm going to find, because there is somewhere here, well, the machine itself has it has a zigzag foot right over here. But what's different, I guess we're going to have, what's different, we got to look at them both. Is this, oh boy, whoops, well, it came off. I thought if I was going to have to stop and use some penetrant oil, but I turned it and it let go and it let go of the foot for me. Okay, ooh, cobwebs. Okay, this is the bottom of what I believe is the zigzag foot. Okay, and that is, let's see here. Yeah, that is. It's called a joint presser foot on the machine for straight and zigzag. Yeah. So this is what most of you are used to seeing, on many sewing machines from the vintage era. You can sew straight. It's not a dedicated straight, and of course it has space for zigzag. So you may think, okay, well, why do I have 2 of those? Well, the reason that you have these two, is because if you use this foot for the normal zigzag foot and you're doing decorative stitches, sometimes those decorative stitches, they're like embroidery in a way, and they can get caught and snagged. But if you are using your decorative stitch zigzag foot, notice that it is smooth like the regular zigzag on the left, but there are these 2 ridges that elevate the surface. I think you can see that in the light here. So the idea is to let that decorative stitch pass through that little channel without being disturbed. Oh, clever. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this foot was interesting. Did they show it? I don't even think they actually showed this foot. So, wait a minute. Nope, I don't see it on our diagram. So it does look like it's an original, it's styled, well, I say that, yeah. Yes, it has the same, they're all low shank, but sometimes the design of the actual shank will tell you something. So this is open on one side. If you look here, it's open here, but closed here. So I'm wondering if fabric is not, put into this, and this is obviously, you would not use this for zigzag, or you're going to smash a needle and put a scar into this foot. But I don't know if this is an edging foot perhaps, or cording feet I've seen on some really old machines when people used to do cording, decorative cording. Okay, what is this? This little tiny thing I was talking about. Wow, look at that little thing. That is 15427, which is, where are you? It's called a plater for bison seam. So you need to use this when you're going to do your bison seam. It's called a plater. How to use it, I have no clue. 15423 is this piece, this beautifully made piece, and it is for, it's called a needle plate for 1/8 inch eyelets. Okay, so there are times when people would make eyelets into their fabrics, and when they did that, sometimes you needed to set up your machine for eyelets. It's kind of like a fancy, think of it as a gourmet stitch, right? So you need this piece. And even if you don't make eyelets, what a cool piece of the history of the machine to have. All right. Did we miss anything other than the one that I had to guess on? Oh, here we go. And this is where I did look at the manual. And this is actually not the button foot, which I've already shown you. That is actually a foot that is used for, it's called a buttonhole foot. So how about that? All right. Still not sure. This is not the thumb screw for attaching feet to the machine, so it might be involved in one of these other attachments. If you never know, like I say, if you're never sure, don't get rid of it. Just hold on to it. You never know whether it will be useful to you or not. Okay. And this looks like it's something very specific, guys. I'll have to zoom in for you to even see it. It's that small. And don't really know. I have really no idea what this thing is. It's got a little edge there. I'll turn it around. You can see it. It looks like it's designed for something, obviously. So if any of you know, please share it there in the comments. You can teach the teacher something. I learn things all the time from my viewers. So this machine, in spite of its checkered past, shall we say, when it comes to its original table, it's not in its table now. I took one of the leaves of that table and I'm using it as like a lazy Susan. I have my a pad, sort of a padded terry cloth piece underneath it so I don't scratch the table below. Okay, so we are going to, we'll put this back, and that's a wonderful thing to have. Thank you, whoever had this machine that managed to keep this and not destroy it. All right, so I showed you these cards, and these little, I call them cards. They're basically, I think today we'd call these get started quick cards. You know, it's kind of like a, hey, just give me the basics here so I can get my oh, I think I see this now. This little tray looks like it might hold sewing feet. I have to zoom in or you probably not going to be able to see that. Yeah, right here is, I think, is where the feet might be held, and then maybe more room for more cams below. I don't know. I can see here it looks like there would have been maybe a I don't know if that was a screwdriver or an oil bottle. Over here, I think that's probably a Husqvarna pack of needles, branded needles, of course. Okay, so again, this shows you different parts of the machine on the diagram, you know, how they work. Over here, it says, please note, the manufacturer of the Husqvarna Automatic does not consider the machine sold until you are really satisfied and have found how to get the best use out of it. If there are any questions to which you cannot find an answer in this manual, we suggest you turn to your Husqvarna dealer. If the machine should not operate satisfactorily, do not try to adjust or repair it yourself. Let an authorized Husqvarna dealer look at it and thus ensure getting the best possible service. Your Husqvarna Automatic deserves it. Your machine deserves it. And that's also another way of saying, remember how much you paid for this? So I don't know if this would have come later in, say, North American brands or Japanese brands, but you know, this again is a European company, and I think as one of my viewers, oh wait a minute, I just got rid of my, well that's fine. I'll have to go back into the box to get the zigzag foot, but we're not anywhere close to needing, we're not ready to run this machine at all. But I'm going to take my thumb screw for my feet and put it right back on the presser bar so I don't have to think about where I put it. All right. Now, let's see. The other leaf, of course, this is the one I think I was showing you before with all the feet and tells you what they are. And on this side, this is the cover. And we have a picture of a mom and a little girl. She's probably sewing for the little girl. The operating manual for the Nordic Husqvarna Automatic 51. Remember, during the 50s and 60s, the word automatic was a big deal. And of course, this manual is, it's got all the basic information of how to thread your machine and so forth. And you can see some of this sort of 50s or 60s. I've seen this kind of graphic design sketch design themes, if you will, from that period. It's not unusual. And it says how to do tucks and stitch. I mean, so it will get into some of the real details because if you're going to sell people all kinds of attachments to do fancy stuff, you got to help them figure out how to do it, how to use your button holder and so forth. And we see, oh, in the back, parts of it are color. Wow. Okay. So how to do napkins and so forth. So it's a very nice manual. Here's your cam sets, produce patterns. Let's see. It says you will find a set installed when you open. Wait a minute. Yeah. The sets are marked A, B, and C, and the various patterns they produce will be found on the chart in the center spread. Use pattern presser. Okay, I seem to remember there being other cam letters, but it just says A, B, and C. So I guess if you could use more, they'll have it in their extra accessories section. But I don't. Like I say, we're nowhere needing to investigate that. And of course, oh, would you like to do embroidery? Would you like to do free motion? The world is your oyster if you have this machine. Imagine someone getting this for the first time, and maybe they didn't own, maybe they never had a Husqvarna, maybe they had a more simple machine. A lot of the people that bought these machines with the fancy features, many of them had experience with more basic machines, and so for them, this would have been a kind of a high-tech, whiz-bang thing to kind of learn. I know we may look at these as very analog, but we still have to learn them. I have to learn this machine and figure out how it works. I recognize some of these controls, but anyway, you can imagine how excited somebody was. Wow, I'm going to be able to do all these things. Now, whether they actually sewed all these things is a whole nother matter. What looked great in the sales showroom floor might be a little more involved than when you get home and you're sitting there. But again, many people had sewing skills. Oh, this is the thing they were talking about, I believe. By using this pattern key, well, where's the pattern key? Oh dear. So I guess we're at the center here. Turn the smaller, oh, okay. So this would have had one of those discs with moving parts. You may have seen this. Pfaffs, the German-made Pfaffs were very, very noteworthy for this, and it was helpful because you had a lot of combinations to make all these stitches, right? So, for example, you have different stitches you could do with your cams, and it'll say set this to 1, set this to A, for that pattern anyway, and then set your number to 4. And I think that's just an example. Now, I don't see the actual guide to that. Sometimes you can find those guides if you want on eBay, and that's sometimes a source that you can try to access. But anyway, that is what came with this machine. If you get anything with your machine, consider yourself fortunate because as you may have discovered, and I certainly have over the years, things often get gone, right? They get, disappear. People lose things. They forget they have them. Someone says, "What is this?" "Oh, I don't know. I don't need it anymore." And they toss it. But the Nordic Husqvarna automatic model number 51. Now, and this, of course, tells me, not only because I see the name Nordic, but if you were not extra unsure, it says here, I'm going to zoom in, I don't know if it'll pick up with you guys, but it says, the sun is so bright there, it's actually, let's see if that helped. There we go. I know it's, there we go, let's try this. It's really bright, guys, I know that. It says Husqvarna, Canada. All right, and then it says Montreal, so they were not making machines in Canada, I don't believe, but Montreal was probably in the province of Quebec here in Canada. It was probably their corporate headquarters for Canada, I'm guessing. So, that is what came with this machine. And it is obviously for straight stitching, for zigzag, and decorative stitching. And so, that is essentially the first video on the first Model 51 I've ever seen. So I just wanted to kind of show you what was left after the table was salvaged, sadly. And again, I measured the table, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to fit in a Singer table. But because we have this extension piece here, looks like it may have been built similar to the way Pfaff did theirs. You saw that on the Pfaff Model 6 I had not too long ago. And I'm going to have to investigate, because this is the extension. And I don't think, like if you take this off, the motor and the pulley and the belt are actually over here, right? So this is very likely going to fit on the original classic Singer dimension for width, but this one would fit for the tables that were built with the Slantomatics in mind. Or if you ever have that big giant black bar that sits on the side of the machine, that's a filler. So anyway, I'm very excited to investigate more. And if you are new to this channel, or if you are a seasoned viewer, please consider donating to the channel. I have to pay for these machines, other than my client machines. They bring those for service. But 95% of all the machines I restore, I have to go and purchase. I often have to travel, depending on how far away they are. And anyway, if you'd like to support that, it would be so appreciated. Just click on any of my Buy Me a Coffee links. The Buy Me a Coffee links are on every video now, and they are also on the homepage of the channel. And it'll take you right there, and you can donate to whatever level you would like. And I would be very grateful to you for supporting these efforts. And in the next video, we are going to start looking around. We're going to do an inspection of the machine to see what we think about it. And I'll share with you something that the owner said she thought might be wrong with it. And I'm hoping that's not true. But I was willing to take a chance anyway. Drove about 45 minutes away for this one. And we're going to see. We're going to see what... A, is it salvageable? And B, what is it like to sew with one of these? And hopefully you all will watch me. We'll learn it together if you don't know how this particular model works. And we will discover it as we go on the fly. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next video.